Hey, I'm your host, Wes.
And I'm your host, Scott.
Come on in and grab a seat.
Because you're hanging with us at the Barbershop.
Hey, Scotty, we're back at it.
Hey, how's it going?
I'm doing pretty well.
That is good to hear. Kind of a rainy, drizzly day here.
Yeah, and it's kind of been that way for the last couple of days. I know I was in the other night doing some stuff, and there were tornado warnings all over the province. And
right. Big sheet lightning.
Yeah,
lit up the sky. Kind of cool, but in a way, it's like, oh my gosh.
I think we may have actually picked some of it up on a recording I was doing for our sister show.
Nice. Big old booms and cracks.
Yeah. I definitely made a comment about, we're getting some weather, as people are looking at the window going, should I be cutting this short and going home?
They'll all do good. They must have all got home.
I'm going to assume that they got home. Now, mind you, we haven't heard from them, so that could mean one of two things. They didn't get home, or they did.
He's made a post since.
Oh, social media says he's there. Okay, that's good.
Yeah. Has made a ride. Have you ever clicked on Facebook when you see that there's these issues or problems around the world, and people are like, "I check in safely in."
Oh yeah,
right.
Yeah.
I'm like, in a way, it's good because again, it's tough to sometimes communicate or get a hold. So I mean, like, right as we've said, everybody's got Facebook, and yeah. So checking in after the storm.
Yeah. So we're episode number. I'm not even sure what this is right now.
6.
We're ahead of ourselves really in our recording schedule,
which is awesome. This is exactly what I was sort of aiming for. We've uploaded episode 1, 2, 3.
Yeah.
All performing very well. Sounds very good. It was very interesting.
Did you have a look at our metrics yesterday?
I did. We've got some European downloads in Greece and Italy.
I couldn't believe it. We got two downloads out of Greece and one from Italy.
Which is, I'm not 100% sure. Like, I got a cousin that's Tellerico. So, I mean, but if he's sharing it?
I'm not entirely sure.
But I'm pretty sure he's still in Ontario.
I like the specifics of the episodes, and I was quite surprised to see that Ladies' Night is now holding the record for the most downloads.
I think too. I think it's been the most organic or the most conversational that we've had. And certainly it's fun to hear somebody else put you in your place.
I know when producer Andy was sending those figures over, and I had made that remark, and he's like, guess we got to have him back.
Oh, right. And as I say, too, as it gets out there, and if you guys want to, make comments and see other conversations that you'd want us to have with our significant others, we're open for that.
Oh, yes.
Kim enjoyed herself a lot, I think.
I definitely, we talked about it a little bit sort of in between, and, she's really trepidatious in the sense that she's like, I know it's your thing. And I'm like, I told you right from the beginning that I wanted you to be a part of this. So having you on the show as a guest was a no-brainer for me. And now she's got this, she had such a good time the other night on our sister show that, she's like spewing out ideas for future episodes. And I think she and producer Andy actually have a show that they're going to, potentially an episode. I'm not sure if it's going to bust into a full show, but we might have a third show under our Sawcast banner.
Under the banner.
Yeah.
Spoiler?
Yeah.
Paranormal?
Supernatural stuff.
I picked up enough of that I figured that that's what it was about. And she's into that.
Oh, huge. Big time.
And Andy, I think, as well, right?
Yeah,
so that maybe lets him flex his geek muscle a little bit.
It's a little bit easier for me to take a back seat on that because as much as I love that stuff, I don't buy into the conspiracy theory aspect of it. Even though I agree that it is 100% entertaining. Like we watched the Netflix documentary last night about Bob Lazar, a guy who used to work out at claims that he worked at Area 51 and made some very bold claims in 1989 about UFOs that the U.S. government had recovered, in fact, were reverse engineering that he had been working on.
Of course, because that's where all our technology comes from. Independence Day said so.
That's right.
Yeah.
Just check the Inquirer if you want to know what's going on in the world. Little Men in Black reference.
Yeah.
Well, that's a pretty good segue. That brings us, I guess, depending on when you're listening to this, we're coming up in the end of October. which means
Halloween.
it's right around the corner. And what a great way to kick off the season than by introducing our guest for today. He's my friend. He's my former colleague. He is Marc Deveault of Devo FX, all the way from Nictow, Nova Scotia. Hello, Marc.
What is up?
Hey, my friend. We're doing well here. Glad to have you over in the barbershop today to want to have a chitty chat about everything and nothing all at the same time.
Dude, it's my pleasure. Love doing that.
So here's the funny part. Scott and I are absolute horrorphobes. We don't like it. I squeal like a schoolgirl at this stuff. And yet, I'm completely fascinated by the process. And, like I said, in your introduction, we are colleagues and, we did work together on some pretty gruesome stuff in our previous life. So Marc and I met when we were both in uniform in the military a few years ago, and we were working at the Canadian Forces Health Services Training Center. And Marc is a very prolific CAS Sim makeup artist prior to getting into the FX world. Marc, why don't you tell us a little bit about that, about the history of your involvement in CAS Sim and how that led you into Creature FX?
I think everything just rolled together. Like I always did a bit of makeup. I was always interested in special effects and stuff. But I chose to go the military route instead of just doing that.
Yeah.
But I don't regret anything. And in the military I did bunch load of casualty simulation, and I think sometimes I was known to go a bit overboard.
Yeah, I can remember working on an exercise, and I'm not sure if it was a QL5 medical technician course or if it was an officer's course. And I can remember my boss, who's now, I'm not even sure where he is. Last time I talked to him, he was a lieutenant colonel back in the UK. But Chris Gibson, I can remember him getting pretty upset because the casualties weren't coming fast enough because he wanted more detail.
Well, because I always, in my head, training people, if you do, if you pick up somebody to do makeup, that does it like once in a year.
Yeah, and that would have been me at the time.
Which is fine, but then when you uncover the wound or the injury or whatever, if it looks phony, then the simulation is just wasted.
Yeah.
And that's sort of the whole thing with this casualty simulation. It's to help new medics and healthcare practitioners in the armed forces sort of diagnose or see things that you might not see every day. That is the idea behind it, right?
The ultimate goal is to desensitize to what you would see in real life.
So it's just another day. It's just, that's a 3rd-degree burn. That's a compound fracture. This is what I'm going to do. And you just move on. It's not the, oh my gosh.
Yeah, exactly.
Cool.
Because, and regardless of your experience or the amount of simulation you had, you're always going to have a case in real life that you're just going to tap out. That's just the way it is.
Before the show, Marc, you and I were talking sort of on the lead up to how we were going to approach this, and you posted a very interesting photo on your Facebook of a very, very high fidelity maxillofacial injury. And we talked about that, and that was one of those instances, I think, where you were referring to where you're going to have an injury that, you're not going to be ready for, and it may throw you for a loop. And I think that's kind of the key to the CAS Sim world, is that, high fidelity injuries, and it's not the common broken leg, pneumothorax, common stuff that we see, burns and lacerations. Not saying that those things are common, but in the training world, they kind of are. So if you have a chance to go check out Devo FX, check out their Facebook, and you'll see this maxillofacial injury I'm referring to. You can't miss it. When I say high fidelity, I mean gruesome stuff. And I guess that's kind of where I want to go next, is sort of the talking about creating this stuff and maybe some of the mediums that you work in to achieve these hyper realistic effects, not necessarily injuries, but also injuries, and I guess just gore in general as we're talking Halloween here.
Gore in general is actually the easiest thing you can do.
Really?
Yeah, it is, because like if you look at injuries on TV, it's a perception of what they want. Like there's shows I worked on, I'm like, all right, they want a guy that's being hung for like 24 hours. I'm like, okay.
Right.
Some of them are okay, but some of them are pretty brutal.
Yeah.
And then I come up with pictures. I'm like, this is what it looks like. And I actually have experience to back it up. And most of them, they're like, okay, no, that's too much.
Right.
Let's go artistically speaking. We're just going to say that they're just there. I'm like, okay, that's good.
I find that aspect of the whole process to be completely fascinating. And I say that from the perspective that, you know, later on in my career, I don't know if you remember this, but a couple of us got sent down to Chantilly, Virginia to do a cash sim course with a special effects makeup lady. But her background was in makeup. And as good as she was, I mean, she's just going off of reference material that she's seen in pictures or television or other visual medium where, you know, the background that you had as a medical technician, that intimate knowledge of anatomy and physiology. Tell me a little bit about how that plays into structuring a wound or an effect.
Well, for me, it all starts because I try to sculpt every injuries I do.
Yeah.
In order to give it, like, because if it's on the stomach, there's more fat. If it's on the nose, there's less fat. If it's a scalp, if it's depending where it is, I like to sculpt it from scratch.
Right.
And then by sculpting it, I can give it the details I want and the skin texture properly. And if I have to put hair, poke hair on the prosthetic before I put it on, then I can do that. And then it's a molding process, depending on how big the piece is. And then you have to cast your piece depending on which medium you choose. If it's silicone, if it's foam latex, if it's cold foam, if gelatin, and the hamster just fell off the wheel.
Now, Marc, you're a full service shop. So, I mean, from my experience of not knowing anything, and all I get is from like TV shows on FX and things like that, where they're bringing on the artists and stuff like that. So it depends on, I assume, budget and then what a director or a film person wants, depending on what you're doing. But you're working predominantly, you're creating an appliance and then applying it to the actor or the stunt people?
Yeah, they usually the producer or the writer or the director, they call me up. They're like, this is what we want to do. Here's the script. Have a look and give us your quote. Cool. So I read the script and then I break down the script in order to see like what could be a good effect. And I tend to always push practical because CG, it's always so bad unless you spend a ton of money, like a shit ton of money.
Yeah.
So I'm trying always to push practical, like the good old days of movie making. And then I push my quote, this is what we can do. And it goes from literally tiny scratch, straight makeup, to animatronics, to dentures. What else we do? I don't think there's a whole lot I don't do. Like we 3D print, we paint, we design.
With with the 3D printing, has that, I mean, right, to me, that's new technology. So when would you say that's started for you guys in your environment and printing an appliance instead of molding it?
Right now, the only thing I'm printing is like small thing that I want. Either it's a small part or a mechanical part or an eye that I want to just have an eye.
So it hasn't overtaken the kind of the old school way of doing things. You've been doing this for how long, Marc?
10 years.
10 years. So from day one to yesterday, what would you say the biggest change in the industry or in your toolbox even is that's changed or made your job easier?
Actually, 3D printing is a big one for designing, like big shops, like a regular shop like in Montreal, Toronto, that do that kind of stuff. They'll have like 20 people permanently just running stuff. But because I'm so tiny and there's no demand in Nova Scotia, I just keep it as what I need, because we can go up as 3D scan somebody instead of doing an actual live cast.
Right.
We can 3D scan their head and just print it, and then they don't even have to come to the shop. I can go to their hotel, scan them, and have a good day.
Has the technology come that far that you can make a good mold off of a 3D scan versus a life cast?
If you have a good 3D scan, yeah.
Really?
But a good 3D scan is going to be, like, we're talking like 10 grand up.
Really?
Well, you think about it, right? I've got orthotics.
Yeah.
I'm on my third pair in my lifetime.
Right.
And the last pair I got, she scanned my feet.
Is that right? Eh?
No stepping in clay, no stepping on foam. Just hung the feet out there, and she scanned them for 20 minutes, and
Sure.
they seem to work. So that's cool that's allows you that access to people, or I guess lack of access to people. But it does open you up to do different things that are a little farther away, right?
Yeah, but like I said, unfortunately down here, it's almost never gonna happen unless I just pick the money out of my pocket and
Really?
bite the dust.
Yeah, I guess so, eh? Well, Marc, let's go back a little bit and let's talk about...
No!
How many years of service do you have?
20.
20 years of service. So you basically have... I don't know, like, can you talk a little bit about before the military, like specifically about your early interests in horror and how you kind of connected with that?
It's actually not really horror.
Really?
It was actually, like my first, like when I had the bing idea, I was watching Thriller.
Oh, wow.
And I bought the VHS tape.
Yep.
And at the end of the tape, they had all the making of.
Okay.
And it was Rick Baker and his team, and live casting and doing teeth and doing zombies and all that. I'm like, dude, this is what I want to do.
Wow.
And I signed up.
Really?
Yeah.
That's fantastic. And so you have this inspirational moment where you're watching a Michael Jackson video, and then you have this 20-year gap where you're doing like silly soldier stuff. And I don't mean that in any way, shape, or form to be disrespectful. As somebody who worked shoulder to shoulder with you, I say that out of a sense of camaraderie because we both know what it's like. But I mean, there was some opportunities presented in the military, and I kind of touched on one already with that sort of just by our occupation. You have this intimate sort of knowledge of anatomy and physiology, which clearly plays a role in how you approach an appliance or a prosthetic or your craft in general. But in terms of other training, like, talk to me a little bit about the Cash Sim course and how that helped you to get to where you are now.
Well, as you know, I decided to, because there was no more casualty simulation course through the military.
I remember that, yeah.
And as you remember, I was fighting to have like decent simulation stuff, and I'm like, because we're in at that time I was in the field section.
Yeah.
And I'm like, there's no, like, it should be part of, our duty that we can do all that and professionally and all that. And so I went to see a school in Toronto.
Yep.
And I can't remember how long the course, I think it was like 3 weeks.
I'm shooting in the dark here. Was that Humber College?
No, back then it was Soma.
Oh, okay.
And I included in the course, I'm like, we need to do this.
Yeah.
And basically it's all stuff I wanted to learn anyway.
Oh, right. So you had a little guiding hand in developing that.
Yeah.
Oh, wicked.
But at the same time, the military is so focused on train the trainer train the trainer and train the trainer. So I'm like,
Yeah.
that's the best way. Like, we'll learn how to make our own molds. We'll learn
By
how
doing
to make
it.
our own by doing it. And then we can have like a storage room or whatever with all what we need. And then we just keep the molds. And then when we need it, we use it.
Right.
And so I went to Toronto for 3 weeks.
That's fantastic. So
That's
then,
the only training I got, though.
you know, but this is it, right? Like I remember this, and I remember some of the other people that went and did that training. And then, like I said, I got sent on a similar course, and I couldn't figure out why, you know, that they were so intent on spending, you know, crazy amounts of money on a course that was, you know, 1/10 the duration of the stuff that you had taken. And that seemed to be, well, that was good enough. Like it just felt like a step backwards. But anyway, yeah, go ahead.
Basically, I think as soon as my course was done,
Yeah.
and I think it's not long after that the wire crossed,
Yeah.
and I think it just got into somebody's hands, and like it's always the same thing, right? It's, oh, let's do this in Virginia. Yeah, you're gonna spend how much?
Yeah.
on just on claims?
Oh, I know. Just for a weekend, for a Saturday, Sunday course.
Exactly. It's like, come on.
Not saying that I didn't get anything out of that, because I really did. I mean, I never handled an airbrush before, so I found that to be pretty fascinating, and it was cool. But I just felt like there was so much typical military, right, from the fire
Yep.
hose.
But that's like, right, that's any big wheels churning kind of involvement of whether it's government or whether it's military, whether it's municipality.
Yeah.
As you say, you get somebody that's in charge and champions it, and you get really cool things, and you get awesome training, and you get budget dollars. And then, as you say, is especially in your case, changing government, change in upper management, and then, you know, all of a sudden that guy retires that was your champion, and you get a new guy, and you go from, you know, brand name Cheerios to Oreos.
Oh, right.
Be like, that's
But
good enough.
But that school, like that school killed me, because remember they asked for when he built the actual simulation cell.
Yeah, I remember.
They're like, oh yeah, we need a sergeant. I'm like, oh, I'll do it. Like,
Yep.
I'll start everything. Like,
Yep.
The major, who I can't remember her name, she's like, do you have a portfolio? I'm like, what?
Well, you want me to audition for a job that I created?
I'm like, okay. So I actually put a bunch of pictures together, presented it. Yeah. At some point, we go to a meeting, and there's different people. Oh,
Yeah.
by the way, we found the person who's going to be in charge of the simulation cell, blah, blah, blah. Yeah, it's a master corporal reserve, and it's a secondary job. I was like,
Yeah.
God. All right, thank you very much.
That's amazing too that they would want to, and again, from a cost perspective, to hire a reservist on a contract for, you know, X number of months. And like you say, well, if he's going to be there anyway, because it's now his secondary duty, again, it's like military healthcare, no continuity.
Exactly. They're in the same trend.
Yeah, exactly. So a 20-year career, and by all accounts, a relatively successful career. I mean, and no successful careers with its ups and downs, but we're going to kind of stay away from the downside of things, because that's can be a little bit emotional. And I certainly appreciate you on that perspective, because I know we share some of those ugly times. But you leave the military and you return home. You find yourself back in Nova Scotia, and you've got this dream. Tell me how the idea of, you know, Sergeant Deveault transitions to, you know, Marc FX Guru.
To be honest, all I did, I'm like, I'm gonna open an FX shop.
Yeah.
But at first, like, let's practice. Let's just do stuff to do stuff and get good at it. And I look at some old sculptures I did. I was like, oh, that's bad.
Right.
That's just bad. But it's like anything, right? It's you have to put the time in.
Of course you do.
And I kind of figured that it was my how can I say that? My sanity.
Yep.
So now I just do it every single day, regardless what it is.
Right.
I just go in the shop and do something, and it just, I'm calm, I'm settled, everything is cool, and I practice every single day.
Yeah.
And somebody just saw something at some point. They're like, "Hey, can you do a zombie?" Sure. We're doing a short film. Okay. Showed up, did that, and then I got another call, and another call, and then another call. And I did a few Stephen King things, and then, yeah, kept going at it.
Well, that's good. You're getting well ahead of me, because that's where I was going to go next. I was going to just say, you're doing this stuff for the sake of doing it because you're passionate about it. And then that first call comes and you're like, wait a minute, somebody wants to pay you to do this. Like, what's that like, doing it for yourself versus that first paid gig?
When I started saying like the Dark Knight.
Yeah.
Like with the Joker.
Oh yeah.
If you're good at something, don't do it for free.
Exactly.
But I literally did it for free because all the money that was coming in, I was just reinvesting in
putting it back into the shop.
Oh,
I can certainly appreciate that. As a small business owner here, that's kind of the way it goes for me too. Like, I don't take a wage, and anything that comes in that's over and above cost, it's reinvested back into the business, whether it's inventory or, new fixtures or that kind of thing. So I certainly appreciate that.
Yeah, because you can't retire and just sit on your ass on your lazy boy, do nothing. You need to keep evolving and try new things and just keep moving. That's why I do it for free, because it's good.
As you said, it's become part of your daily routine, which is good, right? It gets you out of bed, gets you down to the shop, gives you something to kind of look forward to every day. Now,
Yep.
you'd mentioned, now obviously you're out east because that was home to start with. So you go out back home, you start this, and you've enjoyed it. And the big difference from doing this Halifax area, right, to like what's in TO or what you would say versus Hollywood North and like Vancouver. So we know there's not as much work, but what would you say the big difference in between your market and your primary filming locations in Canada are?
I would say that the culture is different. It's handled differently.
A little more relaxed.
Yes, to a point where it's questionable. Because I was the vice president of the union, and I dropped. So it's totally different. Like, you go shoot in Montreal, let's say, and everybody's dressed the same. Like, nobody's looking after the actor. Like they bow in front of them, kind of thing.
Right.
But down here, it's a bit different. And because it's a trade that's it's so polyvalent, like I touch everything.
Right.
And I can jump into like wardrobe, or I can jump into props, or I can jump into like a bunch of stuff, because we do basically everything.
Yeah, you would have to, wouldn't you?
Yeah, and so some people don't like that, and yeah, so after a while, after like when I did X-Men, and then I did Frontier, and then there's 2 shows that showed up, and I'm like, this is not good. I
right.
gotta go.
Well, it's funny you talk about sort of the projects that you've worked on. I'm actually just having a look here at your website, and I'm kind of scrolling through the little pinwheel, and I came across a little tidbit here that I wanted to go back and just touch on, because I remember back when you were working on this particular project, you made a point to reach out and say, hey, please watch this and know that this is something that's important to me. Talk to me a little bit about Lord of Chaos and how that came about, because I know that is a short film that it's a story by you, and you do all the effects in the production, correct?
Yeah.
Talk a little bit about Lord of Chaos and what that meant to you.
That was something I wanted to do, because my idea of telling the story basically was just, different as the casual, I'm crying, gonna slice my wrist kind of shit.
Yeah, so For the people who are listening, if you're not familiar with this, I highly recommend Lord of Chaos. It's online, is it not, Mark?
I believe it's on Vimeo.
It's on Vimeo, so I highly recommend you go and check it out. So correct me if I'm wrong, Mark, but Lord of Chaos was an allegory for dealing with post-traumatic stress.
Yeah, and I wanted to show how I see it every day, but portrayed in the different way that people don't think.
In mental health, we talk about the demons a lot, and it's always metaphorically speaking. But in Lord of Chaos, you quite literally turn post-traumatic stress into a physical demon.
Yeah, and because the way I tell the story, I'm gonna kill the punch, but who cares?
Spoiler alert.
Yeah, spoiler alert. I found that people that understand a lot are actually young kids. For some reason, there's a few occasions that, out of nowhere, a kid just, put his hand on me or said something that just out of the blue is like, how can you get that?
Yeah.
So I'm like, oh my God, maybe we can, put that in and stuff. I'll let people watch it and judge for themselves. But since we did it, all the veterans I talked to, they're like, "Oh man, you nailed it on the head."
Yeah, I guess that's another good transition point there that we can talk about moving into sculpting for veterans. So you've been at this for quite a while now, and you've run a couple of serials of this program. But sculpting for veterans, talk about that program and how it kind of came about.
It came about me just reflecting on stuff, and I came up with, when am I the most serene, or when am I the most happy?
Right.
And that was when I was sculpting, actually, because depending on what you sculpt, you need reference, and you constantly have to try, and it force your brain to focus and look at the bigger picture, but at the same time, you look at the small picture.
Right.
So I just decided to throw it out there. If you want to learn how to sculpt, come to my shop, and it's just going to be people like us.
Yeah.
No therapist, no nothing. And we can say whatever we want. And, so far. And I don't, there's not a schedule.
No.
Because you can't know what's going to happen tomorrow.
Well, I mean, people are coming to. I've participated in quite a few veteran programs, and you never know where somebody is in relation to their injury when they're coming into a program like that. And so when you say there's no schedule, I mean, that's got to be a real relief that there's no pressure to have to do anything or anything at all.
And that was my main thing. There's guys that actually just showed up for a coffee, and it was just like the barbershop, literally.
Oh, that's cool.
Or just sit down, and he's like, "No, I don't want to sculpt. I just want to
sit down
watch you guys and chat."
Yeah, exactly.
All right, cool, man. And
we certainly appreciate that aspect of it. I mean, we've built a whole show on it.
Well, it's one of the things that unfortunately guys don't have.
We've talked about that, Mark, and exactly right. And the ability just to have a visit, or just sit down and have a coffee and look across the table, or and kind of get that guy across from you that you're talking to that day actually gets you. And as you say, as men, we don't really share a whole lot, but sometimes it doesn't need to be a verbal share. So you know what, thank you certainly for doing that. I saw if you wanted to support that program, I think you were coffee mugs on the website.
Yes, I have to go through the website. I'm bad with admin stuff.
But yeah,
it's okay.
But
You and me both.
Yeah, from when I was poking, so you've got a coffee mug. You're selling that on the website, and 100% of those funds go to buy the molding busts.
Yeah, I buy a molding bust, which is basically a head with shoulders. Because to start sculpting, it's always nice to have a form underneath.
Something to go off of, yeah.
Yeah, so you can have reference and stuff. And also, I buy the guys a small starter kit with tools in it, so they can start right away. And when they leave, they leave with the form, they leave with their tools. If they don't want it, they leave it. But it's there for them, and the only way, especially now, because nothing's coming in, the only way to pay for that is the mug.
Yeah. So tell me, how many serials have you run so far?
I run 3 that
that's
were
fantastic.
like more than 102 person.
Yeah.
But because I tend to tell people, don't just contact me. We'll set up a time that you're comfortable with, and we'll make it work. If I have, because some guys, like you're a hermit, you don't go anywhere.
Yeah.
You just don't want to.
Right.
But some guys are willing to actually do it at their place.
Oh, like to have you in.
Like I'm retired. I do whatever I want.
Yeah, of course.
So we just set it up at a time, and we sculpt for a day, and I teach them everything I know, all the tricks of the trade, and what to look for, and how to design properly. Well, probably how to design a character.
Right.
And then if they pick it up, great. If they don't, then at least they had like a chit chat with somebody else.
Oh, that's super cool. I'm glad you're doing that kind of work, because that's, the more work we can do on destigmatizing post-traumatic stress, and the better we're all going to be in this world. That's for sure.
Yeah. Oh, yes. Because most veterans, let's put it fairly, we're all seen as dangerous people. Like,
yeah.
Oh, watch out! They're gonna lose it. They're gonna kill everybody.
I know. Yeah, I know. I've been faced with that very same scenario where it's like, oh, he's got post-traumatic stress. Be careful what you say to him. He's a ticking time bomb. And really, you and I both know that for the, by and large, that's not the case.
Oh no, not even close.
Yeah, of course.
We collapse more.
Yeah.
Most of the time.
Yeah, I'm a wet noodle in the corner crying. That's where I'll be.
Yeah, that and the bitching, like the bitching rest face.
Oh yeah.
People don't get that. Like I'm fine. I'm happy. I'm super happy.
That's right.
My face didn't get the memo. It's all good.
Now,
that's pretty awesome.
As well as you do workshops for the general public as well.
Yes.
So you kind of do the whole, so anyone else that sort of wants to do this as a hobby or wants to do this to sort of see if they've got a hand for it, you kind of do the whole gambit of, you've got prosthetics 101, technical difficulties. I just closed my website.
Oh no.
You do monster teeth. If somebody was doing plays or things like that, and they had somebody in their staff that wanted to do a little bit more than just typical makeup, you can help them along with that as well.
Oh, hell yes. Yeah. And around, I know in the Atlantic, there's no school teaching what I'm doing. They're mostly teaching tricks that you can use on YouTube.
Oh,
right.
Really?
It's just an introduction to special effects out of kit kind of stuff. And my stuff is, I say my stuff.
Well, it's professional.
The things I do is what the big shops are doing.
I guess I always just assumed that the major film schools were kind of handling this kind of stuff and teaching it, but you make it sound like that's really not the case, not to the same level that you're able to achieve.
I think it's went to a way where they're just passing people through just to get because some courses are like $30,000 depending on the school.
Yeah.
And they'll teach straight makeup, editorial makeup, black and white makeup, and HD makeup, and all that stuff. And they'll spend maybe 2 months.
Oh, wow.
3, if you're lucky, on special effects. That's an overview of everything. And then you do everything once, and no disrespect to them, but they come out, they're like, I'm a pro. No, you're not a pro. You just started.
It's
Right.
really about mastering your craft in hours and hours of real life, real work experience, right?
Yeah, and most of what people think is not actually what's happening. 95% I think, of the work is done in the shop. So it's all mold making, and it's all sculpting and painting and playing with naphtha and acetones and all that stuff.
Right.
You're not constantly with the actor petting them and doing makeup.
Well, it's funny too, because when I kind of checked your bio out, it kind of put a smile on my face, and this just shows how much you do in television. That you have credits on Haven, which was a Stephen King kind of offshoot, which I never knew until I dug into it a little bit more. And my wife and I were huge fans of that. We watched it on Showcase in typical cable manner, and we watched it from week to week before streaming happened. And I mean, other than the odd episode, I would never have told you that that show was heavy FX. But you know,
it was not really, because they tried to not do any effects. I don't know why they did. I had one credit on that show, and I did probably like 7 or 8 episodes.
Right? Yeah, we liked it. It was a good little show.
Do you remember the reveal of, I think, season 3, when there's like the big the person that changed skin and
yes.
stuff? Well, I did the makeup for that one.
Oh, very good. You see, and this is where I like this, where you can have that conversation and be like, oh, what did you do? And then you're like, yeah, I could totally see that, right? And you're like, okay, I totally appreciate that was actually somebody's 100 hours of work for what, like, you know, a 3.5, 4 minute reveal.
It's not even,
right?
I think it was like less than 30 seconds. It was crazy. And there's stuff they didn't put at all.
So, right, they do lots of shoots, lots of angles, and you reapplying, I assume, and then all of a sudden it's like cutting room floor.
Fortunately, you don't get paid by what goes on screen.
No, and then you tell them, Larry, it's like you want to shoot that way because, you know, it's fresh, it's beautiful. Like, get your close up now. But the way they teach, they're like directing a movie or whatever.
Yeah.
You do wide first to let the actors get into the mood and all that. And but with effects, it should be the other way.
Right.
Like you start with all the close-ups, so like the makeup is cute. It's cute and all that stuff.
It's at its best when it's freshly applied. Yeah, of course.
Like when we did on Haven, when we did the fight scene with Van de Voot. What's her first name? Can't remember. Anyway.
I'm looking at Scott because I've never watched it.
And she had prosthetic on her hands.
Oh, okay.
But she had to do stunts.
Right.
And the first thing they did, stunts.
Right.
So, first thing that goes, all the prosthetic on the hands are just toast because they've been grabbing each other and all that stuff. You're like, oh.
Well, that's funny you say that, because that reminds me, another piece of work that you did, and you and I talked about this before. Now, there was a little film that came out, last year before, at the Toronto Film Festival with Robert Pattinson, The Lighthouse. And there's a scene in The Lighthouse where Pattinson's character grabs a seagull by the neck and just beats kills this thing by beating it over a rock.
Not beating it. He's
like
fucking
thrashing
it.
Yeah, like he's literally thrashing this bird. And you know what's funny about that is, like, that scene has been turned into its own meme. It's been put to several styles of music, and I had actually seen it set to music before I had seen the original clip, and then I saw, like, I'd seen your comment online about, I didn't know they were going to do that with the bird. I'm surprised it held up.
Dude, they called me up. I think it was like 9 days before they wanted it. And that's another thing. They ordered an animatronic seagull.
Right.
Obviously, seagulls are protected. And they wanted to do like certain things. They paid, I don't know how much for that seagull. And it didn't do 1 fraction of a second on screen.
No, the animatronic one.
The animatronic one.
So that's not the same bird that he's thrashing over the rock, though, is it?
No, those are mine.
I just keep
They
thinking.
called me up. They're like, we need 7 seagulls. Okay.
Yeah.
For what? Well, they're just gonna be in a cistern, like full of water. They're
Right.
just gonna float and. I'm like, okay. Is that it? Oh, we need one to have like an extended wing.
Oh, right.
Okay.
Right.
So I did all those,
Yep.
and I'm pretty sure I don't have a credit on the movie either, which pisses me off. But I got the footage after. I'm like, what'd you do to my birds?
Yeah.
Like, because they showed me pictures. Like the prop guy sent me pictures after the fact. I'm like, they used to have feathers on there.
Used to, right up until the actor got a hold of it.
Yeah, and then, but I still didn't know that he whacked the crap out of him.
Well, I mean, I've watched it several times, like I said, set to music, and then I finally go back and I watch it in its original context. And I got to tell you, I like it better with music.
Oh, and some of the music they put on.
That's what I mean.
It's insane. It's cool.
All I can think of is like that tagline that no animals were harmed in
Yeah.
the filming of this.
The SPCA thing.
That's
yeah.
awesome. Which I wouldn't think that, talking about that, Mark, has this jaded you when you watch films for enjoyment and television? Do you pick apart other people's work when you watch TV now?
Yes and no. I don't. I just before I used to depict it. Oh, look, you can see the edges. Now it's more like a big picture.
Right.
And because I know how it works, I'm jaded.
Right.
Like it's
now you're getting it on
it's
like
just the fact that I'm down here and it's just not working the same way.
It's funny though, like I think every profession out there, when they see their profession depicted on film or TV, there's this inherent, need to want to critique it. Like, and I mean, I'm going to assume, because I know I do it, that as a soldier, you see military movies and you kind of go, well, that's bullshit, or no, that's pretty good. But then you get the other end of it. Not only are we soldiers, but we're also medical people. So you see some of the way that these medical scenes are depicted, and you're like, come on. So I can only imagine, as an effects artist, now you've got this triple layer of critique running around in your brain.
When I worked on Lizzie Borden, there's one hair lady.
Sure.
Somebody got a pitchfork in the gut.
Oh, okay.
But the insertion was pretty low.
Right.
Like, it was like mid abdomen.
Yeah.
And she's like, oh, it should have blood in his mouth and he shouldn't spewing. I'm like, just go take care of your hair dryer. I'm like, it didn't hit the stomach by the time it goes up. It's like, don't worry about it. It's fine. He's not bleeding there. He's bleeding inside.
Yeah.
You do you, I'll do me.
Right.
Yeah, exactly. And I'm not always light when I do casualties.
No. Well, let's change gears for a minute. Let's talk a little bit more about the, I'm sure people really want to know. Let's talk about celebrity for a minute, and tell me a little bit. You've worked on a few productions now, and I'm going to touch on Frontier for a minute, because a long time, I don't know if I'm allowed to talk about this now. I wasn't allowed to at the time. You sent me some photos under like threat of death if I ever shared them. But am I allowed to talk about that now?
Yeah.
Okay, so Mark sent me some photos back when the first season of Frontier was filming, and in these photos, it's a nice shot of Mark applying some prosthesis to Jason Momoa. What was it like working with him?
It was funny.
What?
Let's put it this way. What you see on screen, the way he is, that's the way he is.
Yeah, it's funny. We talked about that a little bit. My wife and I were both big fans of like nerd stuff. So I remember watching Aquaman and thinking that it wasn't really Aquaman. It was just Jason Momoa being Jason Momoa. Yeah.
And I think you mentioned once actually that his range is one face.
Oh, wow.
But it's the right face.
Yeah.
Well, he He has the body, he has the face.
Yeah, that's
All right,
true.
let's giddy up. But no, it was different, interesting.
So just a fun follow-up question to that. What is your best, or let's say maybe your favorite celebrity interaction from a project you've worked on?
Michael Ironside.
Really?
Yeah.
Tell me a little bit about that interaction.
Well, Michael Ironside is all like the 80s bad guy, right?
Yeah.
So, and never seen him in life, whatever. And I'm told, I think it's the night before, they're like, yeah, Michael's going to come in, do your stuff, blah, 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 and go and say, yeah.
Right.
He walks in. He's a big guy. Like he's a bit like a farmer shape. Like,
Okay.
you know what a farmer would look like. Like
I do. We actually have a good friend of ours, Farmer Henry, who's actually a guest on another show of ours. We know farmers. I mean, we live in farm country here. So yeah, for sure.
And he walked in and then started talking. When he started talking, there was a change of atmosphere. I don't know if it's because I was starstruck or something, but
maybe.
Like he had his voice, and there was a charisma coming out of like the whole thing.
Sure.
And chatting, blah blah blah, and then he was telling me like, you know this, and I believe, because I have to remember correctly, but I believe it's a construction accident, like when he like between gigs.
Okay.
And I think he walked off a roof.
Oh no.
I think that's how he got the scar.
Oh really?
Yeah, I might say he told me wrong, but I think that's what he said.
Sure.
But he was super nice throughout. He called me Sarge because I had my I had my old raincoat on, and it was dropping like
yeah.
And no, it was great. And the key makeup on the show, actually, she was in the trailer when I was doing my stuff.
Yeah, okay.
And he walked out, and she looked at me. She's like, I thought you were going to slug him. I'm like, why? Well, because, you know, he was kind of giving it to you. I'm like, no. He liked me. That's why. Because I gave it to him too.
Yeah.
Like, it's really nice guy.
It's always nice to hear, you know, these good celebrity stories from the perspective of, you know, they put their pants on one leg at a time, just like you and I do.
And that's a thing. I don't see them the same way I think most people see them. I think it's more because of what we were before.
Yeah. When
you fart, it still stinks.
That's right.
And if I drop your pants, you're useless like everybody else.
That's right.
Yeah. So, yeah.
So if Michael Ironside was your best, is it safe? I don't want to throw anyone under the bus here, but is it safe to ask you about your worst celebrity experience?
My worst?
And you don't have to answer that if you don't want to. We can move on to something else, but I just thought it'd be interesting.
I can say I got called Tubby a lot by one.
Really? That's really unfortunate.
I find that in life, and I think Wes and I can both agree, right? And to me, looking at your photo shoot, Mark, you're slim and trim compared.
Yeah.
But no. Yeah. I was like, I was Buddha. Like, please rub me for luck.
Yeah. And it's funny too, because everyone thinks that being a bigger guy or having a little weight through your midsection, that you're a jovial fat guy, and it's like, hey, big guy. Yeah. And it's not always that way.
If you poke me, I don't laugh like the Pillsbury Doughboy motherfucker.
So I feel your pain.
And it's all, and also I had two herniated disc. I had surgery.
Oh no!
And it's not work. It didn't work. So I'm in constant pain, right?
Yeah.
And that's another reason why I don't do set at all anymore, is just because it's too much physically. Like you standing around.
Oh, to be on set, yeah.
Because those days, it's not a 8-hour day. Like the longest I did was, I think, 19 hours.
Wow.
And you still have to start the day after.
Yeah, I guess you're kind of there, you know, until they no longer need you.
You show up, usually you have a schedule, so you show up at your time.
Yeah.
But let's say I have to do one of the main actors has a bunch of prosthetic or big makeup, it takes like, let's say 3 hours.
Right.
Well, if the guy starts at 7, well, back up 3 hours.
Yeah.
That's when he arrives.
Right.
then another hour for me to get there
Right.
and make sure everything is ready because I'm too tired from the night before to do it before. So
Gotcha.
screw that.
Yep.
So you go get your beans, your bacon and stuff, and then you get ready for you. And when his day is over, if you don't have anything else, then when he's cleaned up, there's no more glue, there's no more anything,
Yeah.
everything is cleaned up, then you may be able to leave.
Wow. So that's
But-
a good question though. Like you say, like the cleanup process, and I'm just ignorant to it because I don't do it. I mean, it's obvious that you're going to be the one there applying this stuff, but at the end of the shoot, at the end of the day, I mean, you're talking about spirit gums and other adhesives that are not necessarily coming off with just plain old soap and water. Do you ever get involved in the actual removal of the appliances?
Everything I put on, I take off.
You take off. Oh, okay. Good to know.
And I started doing that the day one
Yeah,
after I had an issue with an actor.
sure.
I'm like, no. Like, I'm going to take it off. So if you whine that there's a bit of glue left,
Yeah.
then it's coming to me, nobody else.
Right.
And that way I know how the skin is. 'Cause
Right.
You may develop something while he's wearing the prosthetic.
Oh,
that
yeah, of course.
I need to know.
Yeah.
And if he was wearing prosthetics often,
Yeah.
well, I need to make sure that the skin is taken care of, that if we need a break during the shoot schedule,
Yeah.
well, I need to be able to plan that and figure that out. And so
I guess
it's not just makeup. Like there's a bunch of stuff.
I guess it makes more sense too if you're going to reuse any of the stuff that you're putting on them too, right? Like you wouldn't want your actor to just start ripping stuff off.
No, there's one actor that did that to me, and I on set he just had a flip and he started pulling everything off. I'm like, listen, I have to take it off because you may rip your skin open,
Oh.
depending on how well it's glued. And he
Yeah.
just ripped everything. I'm like, you're on your own, buddy.
Didn't matter.
Have fun. You got the warning.
The other thing I wanted
That just threw a wrench somewhere.
no, you're all good. The other thing I wanted to talk about, kind of going through your Instagram and stuff, there's a really cool project you've got on the go, and you've sort of done it in steps, which I thought was really cool. Is can you touch base on the stasis chamber that you've got in your shop?
Yeah, so we moved. I bought a new house, so we have a new shop, and I have a dirty section and then a clean section, and then there's stuff that don't fit where you think it would fit, and I had two dumb cupboards, so I'm like, oh, I'll put them on top of each other. It still looks dumb, and it's not high enough. It's just low enough that you can see on top. I'm like, oh, what the? And then I had one in my head. I'm like, oh. And me and my buddy Keith actually had that idea like a few years back. And I'm like, oh shit, I'm just gonna do it. I'm doing a stasis chamber. So I just took foam, bits of old computer, old electronics.
It looks so good.
Oh, it's thanks.
For what, as you say, old stuff, just stuff I
Yeah.
had kicking around.
And it's literally like maybe $60 of foam.
Right. So
and
is the
a piece
cabinet
of plywood?
is the cabinet still behind it functional?
Yeah.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah.
Creepy
So
guy
I-
staring out at you though.
Yeah.
So if you lift, the piece that has a triangle and the display in the middle.
Yep.
Well, you lift that up, and then you have access to the head, and then you just open the cupboard, left or right, and then you have access to it.
That's awesome.
Just, I don't know if you picked it out, Scott, but that head, that's one of Marc's life casts. That's Marc.
That is, I maybe seen the reflection of it, but maybe I had not put that together.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's my head. It freaks people out.
Staring back at you.
You know, we do the same thing here, like in our shop. Like it's your workspace, and you're going to spend like a huge amount of time in there. So why not make it a place where you feel good in and that you want to go to? Like I totally get that whole, I'm going to jazz it up with my style.
Well, not only that is like if you have somebody that asks you to design something,
Yeah.
it's nice to sit down where it's like almost, I can't remember what was that show that the guy was a writer and they had shit all over the place.
Oh, we were talking about this the other day. Ray Bradbury Theater. Ray
So
Bradbury Theater.
So just the fact that there's stuff from anything and everything, You're like, oh, that could look cool. Oh, that could look cool. Oh, I got an idea.
Yeah.
And then it just keeps going. And I'm going to actually redesign everything. And I'm switching my clean area into a spaceship.
Oh, that's super cool.
It's going to take forever, but
So when people probably don't know this, but you moved recently. So you've taken the whole operation and you've moved it to a new location. And I know that you now have a much larger space to work out of.
yeah, it's more efficient. It's more proper. Because I was doing it literally out of my basement.
Yeah.
And I did big shows in that little basement.
Well, this is it. I mean, for anybody who's listening, I mean, take it to heart that, you know, no dream is too big. I mean, you're talking about, correct me if I'm wrong, your highest profile project by your website here, I would say, is probably what? X-Men Apocalypse?
Yeah, probably.
So, I mean, here's a guy working out of his basement in rural Nova Scotia and lands himself on one of the most high profile films of the year. I mean, that's a pretty cool success story, if you ask me.
Yeah, that was quite the experience. That's a totally different world.
Oh, of course it is.
Totally different world.
Now, you traveled for that one, didn't you? You went to LA for that?
No, I was shooting in Montreal for that.
Oh, Montreal. I didn't realize that was a location.
Yeah, there's a lot of stuff actually that was shot in Montreal. A lot of shows.
Right. If somebody was to watch that movie today and they were to look for your work, where would they see it?
I do one of the, at the beginning of the show, it's all in the pyramids and stuff. And I do one of the...
In ancient Egypt?
Yeah, I do one of the priests. Not one of the four...
one of the four horsemen.
Yeah, I don't do those guys. Those are legacy and
Gotcha.
no touchy.
Yeah.
So all I did was just one of the priests. But it was a good time.
Absolutely. I mean, I can only imagine just the experience of going and doing like such a big budget production and then, you know, having your name in the credits on a big film like that. It's got to be a feel good moment.
Oh yeah. Yeah, it's a feel good. It's a learning curve.
Cool.
So, Marc, as we tie down here, I was just, you know, and with Halloween around the corner, I was wondering do you have any like cool like household tips that like you'd never do now, but for a guy like me, if I wanted to do like a wound or a burn on my face for Halloween, is there something that most people would have in their house that I could get away with doing a low budget makeup effect on myself?
Totally. You can take some glue and you can like wait till it's tacky, and then you put saran wrap on top of it, and then you can burn. And when I say burn, that's a technical term. It's just basically you dissolve the edge with acetone and a Q-tip, and then when you move, it gives that funky, weird looking kind of skin. If you look at The Shining, the woman that comes out of the bath, that's what they used.
Yet again, one of those films that still scares me.
I'll take your word for it.
Yeah, go back and watch. Oh, maybe.
I met Steve Johnson a few years back, and great time. We had a great time, and the stuff that he was talking, because he started, like, he was working on American Werewolf in London.
Okay.
With Rick Baker.
Yeah.
And that's when he got his start as like his own gig with Ghostbusters.
Oh, really?
Yeah. And his test was, you know, the cadaver in the taxi cab.
Okay.
They said, all right, you have 2 weeks. Then we'll fly you to New York. We'll shoot it. If it works, you got the gig. If it doesn't, we're moving on. And that was his test.
That's a great story.
Obviously.
Yeah. That's some of the cool things where you're meeting your compatriots in the industry and you hear their stories and stuff. That's really cool back lot kind of stories. That's nice.
Yeah, and he told me, because I was revving about the makeup I saw. He's like, dude, it's just fucking rubber.
Yeah.
And then I sat down, I'm like, you know what? Yeah, we're not curing cancer. We're just doing fucking makeup. Yeah, you're right.
Well, Marc, before we get going here, one of our little traditions here on the show is, do you have any side projects going on, and where can people find you?
Right now, I'm prepping for a casualty simulation exercise with the Sartex of Greenwood.
Oh, fantastic.
And the shop is going to be starting a project for actually a CBC documentary.
Oh, that's very exciting.
On the shop, and we're going to be making a monster with mechanical head. And after that, that's pretty much it.
Any time frame on the CBC piece?
I don't think it's going to be seen till next summer.
Okay.
Like
well, I mean, COVID affects everything, right?
Yeah, and my website is devofx.com. It's easy. And I'm actually big on, if you have questions, feel free, call the shop or email the shop. And there's not a day I don't go through my emails anyway.
Okay,
and,
that's cool.
I answer questions on pretty much anything. Plus, me and another veteran, we started a YouTube channel. It's called Rubber Grenade, and it's basically he's following me around and I work, but I explain everything. So it's not a typical tutorial. It's literally a tutorial while I'm working.
Oh, that's fantastic. I've actually watched all the episodes, and there's 3 up there right now. And you've got a little preview for some upcoming stuff, which includes your new theme song, which sounds fantastic, by the way.
Yeah, I'm not allowed to say who did it yet, but I think you know the story.
Yeah.
So I'll let you.
We're going to save that. We'll save that for another episode, because I think, there's enough material that we covered today that we could dive in and really go deep on any one of those subjects. So anything else you want to let the people know, Marc?
If you have a passion, just do it. Just stop asking questions. Just do it.
That's sound advice.
Excellent advice.
Well, Marc, I want to say thanks very much for joining us today in the Barbershop, and we've really enjoyed hosting you. That's it. That's our Halloween special. And as always, it's been a pleasure chatting with both of you gentlemen today. To my recording partner, Scott, had a great time. When do you want to do this again?
Whenever we want to hang out, right?
All right. Maybe we'll get another one in this week.
Thanks, Marc.
All right.
No problem. See you guys.
All right, guys. Thanks a lot, and bye for now.
Bye.
Hey, thanks for hanging with us at the Barbershop. You can find us on all your favorite podcasting platforms. Please like and share us on Facebook, and follow us on Instagram and Twitter to stay up to date on all of our shenanigans. Hangin' at the Barbershop is a Sawcast production.